Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make an easy, creamy chicken pasta dish. Hey Sugar Spun Bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. This is a super easy dinner, great for preparing on a weeknight. Let's go ahead and get started by preparing our pasta. You're going to be using 8 ounces of linguine for today's recipe, so just go ahead and bring a well-salted pot of water to a boil. I always like to break my linguine in half. And we're just going to cook this al dente according to package instructions. That usually means about 10 minutes of boiling. I do like to stir the noodles occasionally, and once they're finished cooking, you'll want to head over to the sink and drain them. Now, I do like to start preparing my chicken while the pasta is boiling, but if you do your pasta first and it's finished long before your sauce and your chicken is done, you're going to want to drizzle it with just a little bit of olive oil, like a teaspoon of olive oil, and toss everything together just to keep the noodles from sticking. Now our noodles are prepped, they're sitting aside right now, so let's go ahead and move over to our chicken. You're going to need a pound of chicken breast for today's recipe. I have mine cut into 4 portions. Now to give the chicken a really nice flavor, we're going to prep a really simple spice mixture. We're going to start with a half teaspoon of table salt, add a half teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and a heaping 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Now, if you like a little heat to your dinner, you can also add a pinch of cayenne pepper here as well. I'm hoping to feed this to my son, so I'm skipping the cayenne pepper today. Now we'll just stir all of these spices together till they're well combined, and I'm just going to sprinkle them evenly over the chicken. And then I'll rub it into the chicken, flip it over, and do the same thing on the other side. You want to have a nice even coating on the chicken, you want to rub it in pretty well, and you want to use all of that spice rub. Now next, I have about a half cup of flour here in a shallow dish. I am just going to dredge the chicken through the flour briefly so that it's completely coated in flour. All right, now set this aside and we're going to head over to the stove where I have a large skillet. And in the skillet, I'm going to heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil along with 2 tablespoons of butter. And you can use salted or unsalted butter here, just use whatever you have on hand. Now I'll heat my skillet until it's medium-high heat and the butter's nice and melted, and then I'm going to add my chicken breast. Now I'm going to cook these for about 3 minutes until they're a nice golden brown color, and we'll flip each one and continue to cook until the chicken breast is cooked through. And once the chicken breast is cooked, we're going to remove it to a plate, and we're just going to set that aside and let it rest. Now keep your stovetop going. We're going to add 1 heaping cup of chopped onion. And we'll just cook this until it is softened and translucent. That usually takes about 4 to 5 minutes. You want to stir pretty frequently so that the onion doesn't burn. All right, so once your onion is nice and soft, like mine is here, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of minced garlic and stir that in until it's fragrant. The garlic only needs to cook for about 30 seconds, and you want to stir frequently so that it doesn't burn, which could make the garlic bitter. All right, so this is looking good and smelling good, more importantly. So now we'll grab our chicken broth. You'll need 1 1/3 cups of chicken broth, and I'm just going to slowly stir this into the skillet, and I want to scrape the bottom as I do it so that any brown bits from the chicken are getting scraped up. They add a lot of flavor to this dish, so you don't want to let them stay there. All right, once all that is added, we are going to slowly pour in 1 cup of heavy cream. Makes this pasta dish nice and creamy. We'll also add a teaspoon of Italian seasoning and stir that in as well. All right, we'll bring this dish to a simmer, and then we're going to add some Parmesan cheese. I like to use 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm using a grated cheese because that's what I have today. I'm sorry, I'm using shredded cheese because that's what I have today, but grated Parmesan actually is a little bit preferable. I prefer to use that when I can get it. All right, now once that cheese is nice and incorporated, you're going to want to continue to simmer the sauce, and let's grab our pasta, and we're going to add that into the sauce. All right, the last thing that you need is your chicken. Now you can add the chicken breast back into the dish whole as is. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually just gonna cut them into slices. You can see how nice and tender and juicy that chicken is. And we'll just add that chicken right into the sauce. All right, now you can get everything nicely combined, and we're just going to continue to cook this for a little bit longer. What we want to do is we want to get the noodles completely warmed up, we want to get the chicken completely warmed through, and we want to let that sauce thicken a little bit. As it sits, it's going to thicken a little bit more, so if you like a thicker sauce rather than a thinner one, just let it simmer for a little bit. It'll get there pretty quickly. All right, this is looking pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and make myself a plate. A bigger bite than that.